Welcome to the evening. We're going to talk tonight about the word healing. Now, the word healing, again, just conjures up all sorts of things within many people's minds. So what we're going to try and do is demystify, if you like, the word healing and the aspects of healing. Now, to do so, first of all, we have to look into medical science and spirituality. So the union, if you like, or the aspect of science seems to be incomprehensible with spirituality. But if you look at what we call science, we're dealing with the aspect of what we call physical sciences. Then if we look at spirituality, we're looking at the inner sciences, dealing with the non-physical in the world or around the world, if you like. So the two seem incomprehensible, but the union, if you like, between science and spirituality is already starting to form together. We see this in the film of the field of quantum physics, for instance. So quantum physics and coming together with mystical or mysticism. So if we take these words alone, we take mystical, spirituality, healing, those three words, again, many people think of all sorts of things, but it's simply a lack of knowledge and understanding that made people dismiss it or to even distort their views on the aspects of this. So we need to go a little bit different with this and to go a bit in depth to give you a good understanding. So first of all, as we say, the union of spirituality and sciences are coming together. We see this in quantum physics, with mysticism. We see this with acupuncture. We see this with feng shui, qigong, and vibrational medicine, and many, many others of what we see. So a lot of things are coming together now because of technology, science, and know-how. You know, we're becoming more and more intelligent. We're finding many more discoveries. So when we talk about healing, let's talk about, say, faith healing. What is faith healing? Some people believe it all works. Some people, again, will dismiss it. So faith healing, what do we understand around faith healing? So faith healing, to understand this simple principle, we have to look at the concept of electrical energy. Now, we understand about electrical energy and subtle energy through science because we validate it. But more than 160, 170 years ago, electrical energy and subtle energy was incomprehensible to everyone before medical science discovered it and validated it. So when we look at this, science then has discovered electrical energy, subtle energy, but healing has been with us for thousands and thousands of years. Now, if we then take up just simply electrical energy, so if we look at electrical energy and say, take this wire. Now, if I place then or send an electrical current through this wire, it creates an electric or electromagnetic field around it. Okay, so is it then so hard to believe then that our bodies hold and consume a tremendous amount and generate a tremendous amount of energy? So then is it hard to believe then that we create what's called an electromagnetic field also around us? So in mystical terms, or in the field or the world of healing, many years ago, as we say, electrical terms wasn't evident, that even the word wasn't there. So people termed this electromagnetic field, like in the wire, like around our body, as what's termed as an aura or an auric field. So many people then would call it an aura. Now, science, again, has looked into all these things, and now science has studied it, and they're calling the aura, from healing terminology, to science as a bioplasmic field. They found that it's an energy system that is housed around our physical body. So it's always been there. Now science is starting to validate it. So bio means life. Plasma is the fourth state of matter. So the terminologies between healing and science and spirituality are starting to form together as such. Okay, so now if we look at the mind, now thoughts and emotions, okay, are not speech bubbles above your head with pictures and so on, but what they are, if you think about this, they're electrical pulses fired off from the synapses of your brain, okay, then affecting the nervous system, now with electrical charges. Now this impacts then the entire energetic system of the body, okay, in various ways. But how does it do this? Now, we then turn to science again, and we turn to the great mathematician, and we turn to Einstein. So Einstein's greatest theory was, or equation was, E equals mc squared. Okay, so all matter, as he said, has an inherent amount of energy. Now, as he says here, mass can be converted under the right conditions to create pure energy. And energy can be used to create huge objects which normally wouldn't be able to be created. So energy is the key factor. So energy then cannot be created, and energy cannot be destroyed. So it's already there, always. So it's there before we discovered it for eons of time. But again, we weren't able to validate it until 160, 170 years ago, however long it was. So it cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted. It can only be transferred or transformed. So where does the energy then, particles, of these impulses on your brain through your thoughts and emotions, where do they go? Where are they housed? They must be housed somewhere. Okay, so then if you then go back to what we said about healing, faith healing, we create an electromagnetic field, so we've got loads of energy within us and around us, by a person either touching someone on the shoulder or on the head, somewhere on the body, and they do prayer. Straight away what happens with this then is there's a transference of that energy from one person to another. Now, when we talk about faith, it could be likened to what's called conductivity. So if we take this wire again, if there's a break in this wire and say dirt gets into the wire, then this wire would no longer be conductive. A deeper meaning of conductivity or receptivity can then be called faith. So if a person's not conductive and they're not receptive, the transference of that energy then can be either reduced or may not be happening. And then a person may not be healed from that. So just keeping it very simple, but giving you a good terminology of electrical energy, but the cells to repopulate, regenerate, need electrical energy, or this subtle energy as such, of which now, as we say, science is now starting to really truly understand. So then if we then take medical science and we take our physical body, now the body then is composed of cell masses logically organized into various tissues, as we know, yes? So what is then the organizational power that constructs the various tissues to replenish, which is cells, yes? Now, how do your cells know the right quantities and the right levels of cells to reproduce from dying or dead cells? Can cells regenerate? We know that it can through medical science now. We know that it can regenerate, or cells do regenerate. But it's clear then that biochemistry, physiology, and neurology then are insufficient to manage and control these organisms on their own. There must be then, therefore, if you think about it logically, defines then that there must be some kind of template that governs all of this. What actually is it? Again, it's unknown to medical science. So then we go into the aspects of further into medical science is what's called a Cartesian model. Now, in the 17th century, a man called Descartes discovered the aspects of the correlation to damaged tissue to pain in the body. Now, this is prevalent even today in medical science. They use this today. And if somebody then has pain, if they have an MRI scan or an ultrasound, if they find damaged tissue, then they can treat the symptoms of the pain or the problems because they can see the correlation through the damaged tissue. But this model, if you like, even in today, doesn't then cater for the fact that some people have damaged tissue, they have no pain. On the other side, people have a lot of pain, but again, no damaged tissues. But why is that so? And this is the gap of medical science that links into the healing aspect and this subtle energy within us. So to give you an example, someone with back pain. Someone can have tremendous back pain, they can have an MRI scan, find no damaged tissue, but the person has got serious back pain. Then on the other side, if someone has an MRI scan and they find damaged tissue because of cancer, but the person has found no signs, no symptoms, or any pain whatsoever. How is this explained? It's very difficult then for people to, in the medical science, to put this all together. So we give you an understanding. If someone has back pain, but there's no damaged tissue, we then go back to the electrical wire, the system of the energy. All of our cells need this energy to correlate, to correspond, to grow, to develop. If there's a lack of energy in the cells, it's like starving those cells of that energy. The cells will then create pain in the body. So if this electrical wire, again, there's breaks in it, or dirt has got into the copper wire or the gold wire, whichever wires you're using, then there will be a breakdown and it's not then conductive. So the electrical wire or the electricity won't run through this wire correctly. Now, when that happens, your lights won't go on, your switches, your walls, all this sort of things don't happen or go on. Then what's the difference with our body? We have all this energy in the body. If there's a breakdown somewhere, now with healing, it's called meridian channels, which carry the energy channels through the system of the body. If there's a break, say in the lower back, and the energy is not getting through to feed the cells, they will automatically create pain. But medical science won't find the pain is there. So just taking this as an example, every pattern of energy is created, which eventually will cause a physical reaction. So it has a unique energy pattern to back pain. It has a unique energy pattern to, shall we say, heart disease, cancers, things like that. It has a unique pattern. But again, medical science are still looking at the physical aspect of damaged cells or damaged tissues. Now, to give you a little bit of a question to yourselves, if a person breaks their arm and their arm is put into a cast, then what heals the arm? Is it the cast or is it indeed the body? The answer is the body, yes? Now, the cast does not repair the body. The cast just keeps everything in line so the bones can heal itself. The body will heal itself. Then we go on. So we say a common cold. The person has a common cold. There is no medical cure for the common cold, but after a week or 2 weeks or so, the body will heal itself of that virus, of that problem. Now, when we go into viruses, obviously we're facing at the moment a very serious virus around the world with the coronavirus. Now, we already know that many people have already had this coronavirus. Unfortunately, some have passed from this, but many people already have had the virus, and their body, their own immune system and antibodies have fought the virus and cured the person, although there's no medical cure for it. But again, the body has healed itself. So the word healing, if you really think about it, a lot of the time, it's using this subtle energy to be able to replenish cells for the body to heal itself in many turns. So whether you're using acupuncture, whether you're using Reiki, whether you're using vibrational medicine, whatever you're using, it's the aspect of using this subtle energy that's all around us. As science knows, within particles around us, there's atoms. In the atoms, there's neutrons, protons, and electrons. So this energy is pervasive, it's everywhere. And our bodies, our cells are normally absorbing, or so much. Where there's then blockages or problems within the body, or energetic patterns or blockages, this energy can't get through to it, and then pain will occur from pain to a condition if it's not addressed. Okay, so now we're back to what I just say again about this energy and the dirty energy, if you like, within this lead. Now, if there's a breakdown, as we say, the dirt gets in there, the electrical wire then is not conducive. So energy can't pass through it, electrical energy. Again, back to our body, it's exactly the same. Now, this was studied by a man called Master Chogyal Tsui. Now, the reason why he was called a master was because he became a master of this subtle energy and a very deep understanding of this subtle energy. Now, what he noticed was, as I say to you, was he noticed that every person had a unique energetic pattern, that if they had back pain, heart disease, and other problems, and even psychological disorders, the body would create a unique energy pattern, which he studied and observed in depth. So his background was a chemical engineer, and he was a scientist. Now, with this then, transforming what we would term healing from an art form to a science would create an enormous amount of detail and work to be able to do this. Now, also then transforming this took an enormous effort. So Master Chogyal Tsui's task, if you like, was to study the different healing arts, now also experiment on them to start to help to validate with and find the mechanism of how they worked and why they worked. That was the first aspect. That's what he done first of all. Now from this then, his job was also to develop a very effective healing system which ordinary people could easily learn in a very short period of time. Now this on its own was a Herculean task for him to do. So again, it's this demystifying, or one of his jobs was to demystify the healing aspect from the masses and many people around the world, from an art form into a science, as we say. Now, many people then, we're back to people's thoughts and feelings. Healing, some people say that it's based on faith, if you like, only. Some say it's a placebo effect. What is a placebo effect? So in medical science, people have gone for clinical trials. They give the medicine for the actual problem of the damaged cells or damaged tissues in the body, but they also give a group of people a sweet or a Smartie. They don't actually give them the medicine. But they found a lot of people still become cured of their physical problem or their condition. But then how does that happen? Medical scientists say, well, it's a placebo effect. But a placebo effect isn't just faith or blindness. Something occurs to create the chemical reaction in the cells for the body to heal itself, although no medical intervention has happened or no medicine has been given. It still happens. So placebo effect isn't just something mystical, it's just that they can't measure it. That's the reason why it's termed as that. So something does happen. It's to do with this energy. Now, some say that healing then is to do with what's called internal chi, or energy as such. Some say that it's based on even animal magnetism, and so on. There's many, many thoughts and processes. So again, Master Chogyal Sui then developed what's called pranic healing. So what is pranic healing? Pranic healing, or prana, is a Sanskrit word. So a Sanskrit word for energy. So just basically, pranic healing is energy healing. Now, Master Chogyal Sui then formulated and developed pranic healing from the very bottom up. He looked at Western medicine, he looked at Eastern philosophies, he looked at then the healing arts. And there was many healing arts from many esoteric schools from ancient times. So these techniques and principles had to be developed in the concepts, and even the 7 basic techniques in pranic healing, before all this terminology was developed, nothing existed. Terminologies to different things didn't exist. So, as we say, healing was still an art, not a science. So Master Chogyal Sui's spiritual thesis, if you like, was in developing the healing art into a fully developed healing science. There were no methodologies for healing different ailments and different systems of the body as it was. Through a lot of the healing that takes place is one healing suits all. It wasn't a breakdown for if you've got this particular ailment, there's this particular protocol. So the basic concepts and laws and principles of pranic healing had to be clarified and explicitly formulated. Now, the system then of what's called the 11 chakras had to be developed and formulated. Now, this then, in a lot of schools and of healing through, again, many years, was only taught on the level of 7 chakras. 7 chakras. So what does chakras mean? A Sanskrit word for chakra simply means whirling wheel. But these are the energy points within and around us that, again, medical science at this moment can't measure. But this is where these are like the gateways, if you like, for the energy to be able to be consumed into the cells of our body. Now, as I say, most medical schools aren't aware of this, but a lot of esoteric and healing schools were. But they were only taught on the level of 7. It doesn't make that school wrong, it just gives a deeper understanding of level of truth that could now be given because of the aspect of electrical energy, or the principle of subtle energy. So formulating even the 11 energy points or energy centers has been used and understood for thousands and thousands of years. But again, because of electrical energy wasn't evident, it became mystical. So this is where the two are coming together. now also the properties of color pranas had to be developed and formulated. Specific methodologies or principles and protocols of healing various physical ailments and different systems of the body also had to be developed. So when he developed it over 30 years of study, he then developed like the books. The lovely thing about it is when someone then would learn the techniques and the principles in the school of teaching, they then could open up these books, and it's quite evident at the moment, into the respiratory system of the body. So following a set procedure that was developed over a long period of time, then the person could use the principle, the protocols and the technique, and then help to heal the body, or the body would then utilize that energy, and the body then would start to heal itself. So later on then, he started to develop then the methodology for healing psychological ailments. They all had to be formulated. So as we say earlier, when you have a thought or emotion, the electrical energy through the synapses of the brain trigger the response, but it affects all the nervous system and through the whole of the body quite tremendously. So again, he formulated all the techniques, so when somebody could learn that in the school of teaching, they could then use this book, Pranic Psychotherapy, and then treat people for stress, anxieties, depression, addictions, and again, many, many other things. So the treatment for, as it says here, for instance, the treatment for irritability, anxiety, stress, grief, hysteria. And the person then follows the set procedure and protocol. So we're in an age now where the healing arts that have been around for thousands of years and medical science and spirituality are all starting to come together because of our understanding of subtle energy. So it demystifies the aspects of the word healing. So if you take your mind out of the thought of healing and where your mind conjures up all sorts of things, there is what's called pranic healing, which is basically a science. And because of the discovery of this science, it demystifies what was once the mystical. So I know it's very quick, and just to give you a very good understanding of healing, but understanding where all of these principles and techniques can come together, this is really the future in the aspect of what we need to see and what we need to look at. Is the fact of medical science and healing coming together. We've heard recently that in China, traditional Chinese medicine has been used with the coronavirus. They found lots of very, very positive things, of which they're sharing around the world. Okay, so traditional medicine. Now, people think of traditional medicine as something you take, but traditional Chinese medicine is not something you take. It's a healing aspect, a form of qigong, a form of acupuncture, an aspect of pranic healing. Something will be included with this. And lots of pranic healers around the world, as we know, are helping many, many people at this moment with the science of pranic healing. So I hope that's helped you. I hope that it's given you a bit of insight into healing, and it's demystified a lot of things for you. Now, what I want you to do is just, if you can, is follow us on Facebook, have a look at what we do with ukpranichealing.co.uk, look on our website, even look around the world at what's going on in this school of teaching. You'd be amazed how many people are utilizing this technique, because now it enables a person to learn it in any walk of life. Once they learn the techniques, they can apply them through these books and heal themselves and heal other people with many, many things. It's quite incredible. So join us again. We're going to talk about the next the next discussion will be around prayer. We said about faith healing earlier on. A person touches a person, they do prayer. What do? Or what happens? They bring in a tremendous amount of this pervasive energy and transfer it. But what is the meaning behind prayer in the first place? What's the purpose? Why do people do it? When people are in trouble, why do they then pray? Hope you've enjoyed it. Take good care, everyone. See you all very, very soon. God's blessings to you. Take care.